So welcome to another New Way Growth and ConeX Portal LinkedIn Live. This week we have a superb business and team in Sam and Chris from Boost, an innovative design revolution for breast prosthesis. With that, I'm going to hand over to Angela, and Angela is going to do her normal brilliant hosting and facilitation on the discussion. So as always, any questions, post them in the messages and we will pose them to the team. So thank you very much. Angela, do you want to kick off?
Thanks, Adam. Thank you for the introduction and, of course, for setting up this session for ConeX Portal. As Adam said, we have Sam Jackman and Chris Hawken of Boost Innovations. So, without further ado, Sam, perhaps you can start by telling everyone about Boost and how the business came about.
Yeah, so Boost came about because my mum, well, really inspired by my mum who had breast cancer, which was about 17 years ago. And she was given a silicone gel prosthesis that she found hot and heavy and sweaty and really uncomfortable to wear. And she never got on with that type of product. She found it really difficult. So we wanted to find a new type of product, a new way for her to feel more comfortable as somebody who'd had a mastectomy. And I went online and I ordered lots and lots of different types of products. And we searched for a really long time to find something that would make her feel more comfortable. And we couldn't find anything like what we were looking for, really. There wasn't anything on the market that would really suit her needs. So after a while, I happened to go into work one day, and I worked at Plymouth College of Art at the time, and I was just talking about it in the office, and we're just all talking away with a load of other creative people. And I met my business partner and co-founder, and we were chatting away about it. And she said, well, why don't we kind of explore this? And that's what we did. And we started to look at things in a bit more depth. And then we met Chris through the University of Plymouth. And Chris was able to help us take these like random ideas into an actual manufacturable product. And that's where we are now. So we've been selling them for about 2 years off and on, and kind of really accelerated in the past 6 months because we secured an external investor. So things are going in the right direction now. Took a long time to get there, though, but we're going in the right place now.
That's brilliant news. So, Chris, what did you think when you were approached by Sam? Because I'm sure you've probably been asked some weird and wonderful things in the past. But what was your initial thoughts when you were approached by Sam?
Well, it was interesting because the reason I have a continuing relationship with Plymouth Uni is for that reason, that quite often when you engage in the student sort of sphere, you see things which are not necessarily inhibited in the same way as you do in industry. What's interesting is that it was actually one of my students that recommended my previous experience to Sam's business partner, and she got in touch with me because I'd had some interest previously in creating lower limb prosthesis. So it was a tenuous kind of like relationship. But when she explained to me the product, there was two things that struck me. One, I can't believe that there is an industry which is so underdeveloped, and there's no innovation, there's zero innovation in it at all. And that's really unusual. So, of course, when you see something which is a new design and new interesting concept, it's like you want to jump and help be involved, because it's very unusual to see something which is genuinely innovative within an industry, an undeveloped industry. And yeah, like I say, that it was a bit of a no-brainer because when can you do something which is, or be involved with a project which is innovative and in a completely underdeveloped market? So and she explained to me the issues that they sort of had in their original concept, and I thought, got an idea for that. So yeah, I productionized it.
That's quite interesting, actually. You're saying about, it being so undeveloped. Sam, what do you think this is? Do you think it's because breast cancer isn't spoken about enough? Do you think maybe there's a little bit of a taboo around the subject?
I think there's a few different factors, really. I think that partly it's because a lot of design and engineering is based on historical design and engineering. And when we researched the prosthesis, the gel prosthesis, we realized that actually the design hadn't really changed very much since the 1960s. And at that time, a lot of product design and most of product design was done by men. And I think that there was a lot of design assumptions that came with that, unfortunately, where, like you say, it was harder for women to be able to channel their voices into what actually they needed from their products. And then that just kind of carried on, because these products were selling, as far as the companies that make them are concerned, they're doing really well because they're selling lots of them, but they're selling lots of them because there wasn't really an alternative. And it was really hard for them to listen and to kind of go back to, they kind of got too big to really do that co-design process that we do, that we really enjoy doing. So there's a few different things, but yeah, I do also think that that women are really good at making do. We met loads of women at the very beginning of this journey in 2018. We met loads of women who are making things for themselves. So like little cushions that they'd sew on their sewing machines that they could pop in their bra, little like beanbag boobs that they could put in their bra. And they were just really good at adapting or just getting on with things. And there wasn't a channel for people to say, I've done this, this is what I need, this is what I want. And there wasn't any way to reach to a company who had the facilities or the equipment to really meet their needs. So that's where we tried to fill in. It's not just for us about designing something and producing something. It's about that ongoing dialogue to support the women that we work with, to have that conversation with us, so that we have like a product development pipeline. And we're really proud of that, because it means that when women are telling us things, we can really come up with ideas, and we can start to generate things that might work for them. And we've had some real success with doing that.
And I think to add to that, there's actually a really big issue with healthcare in this respect. Like we pride ourselves on that sort of feedback loop. You know, it's a closed loop system where we're actually finding out from women what they want. What's really comical about the breast form industry is that there is no feedback loop. And actually, the NHS to this day still say that you should replace a breast with an equal mass to prevent yourself from having potential back issues. Well, women who've had breast cancer don't really care about back issues. They don't want to be hot and sweaty when they're out gardening or living their lives or something. But did anybody actually take the time to have that conversation? No, because there's probably quite a lot of, dare I say it, male surgeons who just go, well, this is the industry. We've got a new material. We'll make a new type of jelly, and we'll charge, that will be the new thing, and that will be the new premium product. And it's not actually user centric in any way. So.
Or environmentally friendly. So that's the other thing that we were really keen on, was to see how we could try to reduce the environmental impact. So we didn't want to mass produce a product in China and ship it all over it, because we couldn't monitor the quality. We couldn't be agile to listen to women and change things if we needed to. We couldn't manage the production waste. And we can do that with our little pod production systems here, and we can scale it, and it is scalable, as I keep telling people. But actually it's really important to have those other factors, to think about our products and our services holistically, and not just think about, oh, we're just doing this thing to solve that problem. It's not just about that for the way we run the company and our ethos.
I think it's, it seems to me from listening to what you guys are saying that, well, I think I'm going to use the word horrendous, to be quite honest, because when you think about it, no, not your product. When you think about it, the cold callousness, to lose a breast, as a woman, to lose a breast, it's a huge, huge thing. It really is. And it has a big impact on your mental health, not just on anything else, but your mental health as well. To then have to use something that isn't fit for purpose, doesn't do the job,
Well, and also, which is inherently clinical. That's one of the other things as well. It's a continual reminder that you are somehow broken.
Yes.
And one of our things of our products is to sound pretty low res, so I'll bring ours up. I mean, these are not beige. They're not that. you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There is a whole ecosphere around the product itself, and you know, we've got a big community of women who feed back into our process, and it's lovely. Is as a designer who has designed things that largely the world doesn't need, doesn't need to survive. And it's actually quite nice to produce something which is able to help people not only physically but sort of mentally. And the women we deal with are lovely. Right?
Yeah, they're absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Sam,
they're
is
really good.
Is that one of the original old-fashioned ones?
That's a traditional one, yeah. So so not only does it come in this helpful heavy kind of mass, but it comes in 3 colors. 3. So if you're a woman of color, you're gonna struggle a little bit. And the NHS bulks buy these from the suppliers, and they don't buy very many black ones.
I for one would not want to be hauling that thing about.
It's really heavy. It's really heavy.
And
but
one of the things that really got me was when Sam was showing me the design. Not only are they not very robust, so they have a finite lifespan because they will tear. There's no tear strength in the material. They're actually encapsulated because the material has no tear strength. So you're finding that they have failures. I mean, they're 200 odd quid, something like that. And so there is a lifespan for the product. But the just everything about it, even the packaging that it came in, was this super basics NHS kind of just.
It's like a sandwich bag, wasn't it? It's kind of like white, clean, plastic heavy, nylon-y kind of thing, because it has to sit. The packaging it comes in, it has to sit in a cradle because of the way it's designed to be all fleshy. If you left it out somewhere, it would kind of deform. The shape would move. So you have to keep it in a cradle, which means it has to be fairly plastic heavy in terms of its packaging, and it doesn't last very long, as Chris said. It can lose its shape quite easily, and it's easy to tear, and they leak. NHS guidance over the lockdowns was great for a woman who torn and had a bit of a leak. Stick a sticking plaster on it. That's what they said. Yeah, we can't see you in any clinics. We can't see you in any clinics. Just stick a plaster on it, and you'll have to make do until we can do something about it. So and to buy one yourself, as Chris was saying, 180, 220 quid. That's what they're retailing for.
And ours, we retail ours at less than half that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Adam, you've been sitting there looking absolutely
I just, you know me, and you know how straight I just think it's a shower of shit the way that it's from a. I am actually lost for words, and I am. It's not very often I am lost for words. I am actually lost for words on it. It's fantastic from an innovation point of view. Superb, and that's the way it should be from that. One thing I was intrigued about, Sam, was because you're creating, and I have this thing with this creative and the engineer side, the technical engineer, because the engineers I'm an engineer, we tend to be rational, logic, and creative, and it is very much coming in now. In the design engineers, we get it like Chris, we're getting this completely different sort of like thought process and the progression. How did you marry that up at the beginning with this was it your creative side that you saw? So I'm intrigued by sort of like, what did you do? Did you have a design and from your creative background and then go, or did you actually just sort of like rely on Chris and the work and the collaborative work for that?
I'm not a creative person. I don't know whether I don't know what Chris would say, but I don't know whether I'm a creative person so much as a problem solver and somebody who just makes action, who just does things. And I think that I did work in the creative and cultural sector, but again, it was not necessarily because I was artistic or creative, but more because I can just get shit done, and that's what they need. To be fair, I used to work with museums, and that's what they need. Somebody who can just get shit done. And so like having the idea, seeing the problem, getting to where we are, I guess I would say that is what I've brought to it, not necessarily the creativity behind it. Although I can be quite creative when I have a problem to solve. I can solve the problem. There is no problem that, I'm just going and do something and get it done. But in terms of the design and how it came about, I think Rosie, who worked with us at the very beginning, she had visions of how it might look. And those visions were really beautiful, but they weren't manufacturable. And that's where Chris really has been transformational to the business, because it was Chris who came in and then took those core elements of the design. So things like, we knew we needed to have holes in it. It had to be open structured. We had to let air circulate. It had to be foldable and then spring back. So when you put it in the pocket of your bra, because lots of women wear them in a pocket, they're not wearing them so much in the pockets now because they don't have to with our product. But that used to be the thing. You had a pocketed bra. We're moving away from that now because we're changing the way it works. So they used to put, so it had to kind of spring back into shape when you squidged it in the pocket. There were some little things that we just needed it to do, but it was Chris who kind of made that happen, really, to make it into something that we could actually manufacture and that was actually functional in the way we needed it to be.
I mean, to your point earlier about Sam and her creativity, this is something I've thought about a lot, actually. And the thing is, you don't have to be somebody that molds things out of clay to have a creative mindset. And I think what Sam and I both display, this is me blowing my trumpet a bit as well. The thing about it is, we know enough about a lot of things to be able to make intuitive leaps from point to point. So Sam does that in a more organizational sense, and with the business structure. And like, for example, the marketing plan that Sam has is something I would never have considered. And it feeds in, and that is a very creative concept. The creativity that I sort of bring to it is that I have quite a lot of knowledge about manufacturing, broad manufacturing knowledge, and I'm able to intuitively kind of make assessments about other things, which allows me to be innovative. I'm also very interested in 3D printing, and that was actually the issue with the design that Rosie had conceptualized. It was a 3D printed lattice structure, which was beautiful and it was lovely to look at, but again, undercuts everywhere and not fit for manufacture. So I used my very boring knowledge of injection molding and kind of smashed it together with the requirements of the product. And actually the design is not revolutionary in its idea. It's revolutionary in its application, because actually most people are looking to solve every single product, or every single problem, and if you don't solve every problem, it's not worth producing that product. It's like, well, this is actually a best fit. It's arguably not a very good fit for a lot of our customers, but it's good enough. And it's lighter and it does the job. And as we said, women are incredibly compromising. And this fits a gap which a larger organization would not be able to make the money make sense. We're a small, agile organization. Again, another part of our creativity, where we've been able to make this work with very little. And now that we've got investment, we're kind of like going, don't really know what to do with all this, but the leaps are still happening.
Yeah. It's amazing, because at least with the investment now, it gives you the opportunity to really start to develop further with the product, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think initially we're scaling up our sort of production. The innovation stuff's happening all the time, and probably the money isn't going to make a huge difference for that. But we are now getting to a point where production is a serious thorn in my side. And that's where this is coming from. It's going to help us increase sales. And
so is that matching demand?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, is that matching demand and capacity? So that's your problem, demand and that way.
It has been a problem. We're working on it now, but it was because you really have to have the level of income you need to get new staff in, really, to make sure that we can afford to pay them. And even with the investment money as a buffer, I'm really not keen on spending money where we don't need to. We need to show that we have a business case for it. So we have had to grow that, but that has, don't feel sorry for Chris, because it's equally bad for me, because I do all the packing and the customer service. So while he can sit there and does the actual production thing, also the customer service stuff is a pain for me too. So we're now getting to a point where we're trying to work out, we're working, we've got new staff coming in, we're working on ways to find people who can help to free up Chris and I to do more of the strategic stuff, because that's what we need to do now, and we're working on that, and it's going quite well. But I just wanted to say a quick note about the funding, because actually it was really hard. We talked earlier about why hasn't anybody changed the design of these, and why hasn't anybody said anything. But when we were trying to secure investment even quite early on to get this thing off the ground, nobody was interested in investing, because before we had prototypes, or even when we had 3D prototypes quite early on, we just got the same thing. We'd walk into a room of guys around a table in their suits who were from finance places, and we'd say, we're going to redevelop the breast form, and it's going to be like this, and we're never going to make a skin coloured one, and we're going to make them these funky colours, and we're going to do it like that. And then they'd go, why? But it doesn't look like a breast. Why would you do that? It doesn't look like a breast. And we'd go, and they'd go, well, nobody's going to want that. It doesn't look like a breast. And you're like, right.
What a colossal lack of empathy and understanding.
One word comes to mind: arseholes, because they haven't really understood their customer like you have.
They just weren't interested. They weren't interested in funding us. We found it really hard. We couldn't get investment funding for a really long time, and it wasn't until over the lockdown. So I was working all the way through, full time. Obviously, Chris was running his own business with Couth as well, and we had to do that, and Boost was just something we fitted in, because we both had to work to allow us to live and to pay our mortgages and to look after our families enough that we could actually do Boost stuff in the hours in between. We were doing so much other stuff and we just carried on like that for nearly 4 years. Really, it was a long time, because nobody would invest.
And comically, the COVID situation actually in some respects did help. There was a certain amount of downtime that I experienced, which allowed me to really just have not a massive push, but just enough of a push for us to be able to get our first tools manufactured, and actually to start turning this from being a prototype idea to actually like, right, this is what's involved with being a manufacturer. So, I've worked in a company before that manufactures things on site, and then slowly became an assembly company. So I know what these processes are like, and there's a colossal amount of work. And I've been trying to sort of upscale or at least proceduralize some of the production stuff that I do at the minute, and I know intuitively, but all of these things have to be proceduralized. So there's this exponential sort of spider's web of work, and basically Sam and I are still largely driving this. So what we're doing is, just from that perspective alone, we've achieved an awful lot with very little. So it just goes to show, little company in Cornwall with a couple of people who just feel strongly about something. And I think the margin in the product as well, there is so much more margin in it that we're just unwilling to put on. We're not a B Corp company or a charity. But I mean, Christ, we are selling stuff to people who've had cancer. Like, there's a line. So
we've been quite firm, and that's the other thing with investors or with people who don't share our ethos. We've had to be really careful to, even if we were offered investment, to be very fussy about who it was that we partnered with.
And the Design Council actually is an incredibly, like, we'll give them a shout for this, because I mean,
British Design Fund.
The British Design Fund is what they've offered to us in general is just a perfect working relationship, and they're just, well, I say that they're just kind of like going, yeah, you're doing great, carry on.
Yeah, carry on. Here's a bit of support, here's the mentoring, but just carry
on. Karen Meadows has asked, what's the weight difference between the two products?
We have a handy diagram for that now, because we do. We get asked that quite a lot. So they're at least, they're usually between 50 and 70% lighter. So yeah, they're pretty good, but they do have weight to them. So there is another type of product you can have, which is called a softie, which is like pillow fluff or teddy bear fluff in a pocket. It's like a cushion, and you put that in. So when you've just had surgery and you're really, really sore, but you feel like you might want to have something, they put that in. And ours, and obviously not as light as a softie, but that's because if you have a softie, it will migrate as you move your body. They don't stay put. Even if they're in a pocket, they'll end up all squidged down at the bottom, or squidged over or over on your shoulder or somewhere else. And so ours is weighted. So if I just jiggle it sideways, you can see that there's weighting towards the bottom, and it is there. So it does help to give a more natural silhouette, even though it is so much lighter and cooler. So yes, it is significantly lighter, but not too light, and that's the key.
That's amazing. And plans for the future?
Lots. One that we can tell you. No, I mean short term.
But there are you've got exciting things lined up for the future, yeah?
Yeah. Short term increase. We want to increase our sales to the point where we're not one of the companies which shows a massive loss in our first year, which I think that's pretty impressive. I don't think that's an unreasonable target for us to achieve, but also I think that's a big thing for us to not end up in a massive deficit, having taken a load of money. And we're doing quite well to get to that point. And we have like Sam said, we have an innovation sort of pipeline. It's all human-centered design. There'll be more development on this concept in another pattern, and with more shapes which are kind of more better. I say more inclusive, but more for different shapes of figure and things like that. So again, this cyclical kind of relationship where we're listening to people and sort of going, where are we missing out on opportunities, but where we're not serving our audience?
Yeah,
absolutely. If you can keep that, that is the way to go. Because as you say, otherwise you end up with that mass-produced garbage that you've shown against yours. So if you keep that from a customer perspective, spot on, you'll fly with it. You'll fly.
Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating subject. It really has. I've really enjoyed talking to you both, and I hope that anybody watching has learned something and will spread the word about Boost, because to me, it's revolutionary. It's brilliant. Well done, both of you.
Thank you.
Getting this product out to market, and perhaps we can have a catch up with you maybe in 6 months and see how things are going.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yes, that'd be brilliant.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Please do connect with Sam and Chris to find out more about the amazing work that they're doing. And obviously, if you want to know any more about ConeX Portal, please do get in touch with either Sam Bainham or myself. Thank you again to Adam from New Way Growth for facilitating our LinkedIn Live today. And we look forward to seeing you all again.
See you later.
Bye.